Captain Marcus Rylan had always thought of himself as an ordinary human among extraordinary beings. Standing at the edge of the Grand Hall on the neutral planet of Virelia, he could hardly believe the spectacle before him. The court was unlike anything he had ever seen. Towering pillars of crystal refracted the soft glow of floating orbs, while alien dignitaries from dozens of worlds mingled in a riot of colors, shapes, and sounds. Some had scales that shimmered like precious metals. Others had wings, tentacles, or skin that seemed almost liquid. And yet, despite the alien majesty, Marcus felt calm. Human instincts had a way of cutting through chaos. He adjusted his uniform and scanned the crowd. His duty was simple: protect the visiting dignitaries, ensure no violence broke out, and maintain order. But he had learned long ago that nothing in an alien court was ever simple. Politics here were deadly, subtle, and often invisible. And Marcus, despite being just a human guard, had learned to see what others missed. The ceremony began with the sound of chimes that resonated through the hall, vibrating in patterns only some species could fully perceive. Ambassador Liara, the dignitary Marcus was assigned to protect, stood proudly at the central dais. She was tall for a human, with striking features and eyes that seemed to read the hearts of those around her. Today she would deliver a speech meant to unify several warring factions under a fragile peace treaty. It was an important moment. Marcus knew the stakes were high. The court fell silent as Liara began speaking. Her voice, clear and confident, carried through the chamber. Marcus noticed alien eyes fixated on her. Some watched with curiosity, others with thinly veiled suspicion. He knew the court's history. Alliances here could crumble in a heartbeat. Every glance, every gesture mattered, and then it happened. A sharp intake of breath, almost drowned by the hall's humming, was followed by a sudden stumble. Liara's knees buckled. Her hand shot out, grasping the podium, but it offered little support. Within seconds, she collapsed, hitting the floor with a soft thud that seemed impossibly loud in the hushed hall. Gasps erupted, tentacles recoiled, wings flared, and eyes widened. Some aliens hissed in alarm, while others emitted strange clicking sounds that Marcus had learned indicated panic. Marcus was already moving. He pushed through the crowd, his human legs carrying him faster than many of the taller species could manage in the tight space. Kneeling beside Liara, he checked her pulse and breathing. At first glance, there was nothing wrong. Her heart beat steadily, and she breathed shallow but regular. "Ambassador, can you hear me?" he asked, his voice firm but calm. Her eyelids fluttered. "Marcus," she murmured weakly. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Something was wrong, but it wasn't obvious. He looked around. Alien guards had formed a barrier, but none dared to touch her, fearing contamination or violating protocol. A few court medics hovered nearby, their appendages trembling with indecision. Marcus sighed quietly. Humans might not have the most advanced senses in the galaxy, but they had one thing aliens often lacked: decisiveness. "Step back," he commanded, standing and waving them aside. The medics hesitated, but Marcus's tone left no room for argument. Once alone with Liara, he scanned the surroundings again. Nothing seemed out of place. No visible weapons, no suspicious fluids, no immediate threat. Yet, the collapse had been too sudden, too precise to be natural. Marcus's mind raced. Was it poison, an alien pathogen, or something far more subtle? He had seen humans survive situations that aliens deemed impossible. Maybe, just maybe, Liara could recover if he acted quickly. A hand touched his shoulder. A towering alien in iridescent armor, likely a high-ranking officer, leaned down. "Human guard," he said in a deep, rumbling voice. "What do you think has happened?" "Our sensors detect nothing abnormal." Marcus shook his head. "That doesn't mean nothing is wrong. I need space and cooperation, not speculation." The alien hesitated, then nodded, stepping back. Marcus took a deep breath and knelt again. His eyes caught something others might have missed. A faint, sheen on Liara's lips barely visible in the low light. He smelled the air, though he knew his human nose could detect only a fraction of what some species could. Still, there was a subtle metallic scent, almost like iron but mixed with something chemical. Marcus's mind raced through possibilities. A gas? A slow-acting sedative? The alien's superior senses hadn't detected it. That told him one thing. Whatever had caused the collapse was tailored to alien biology. Humans were often ignored in galactic politics because of their small numbers and seemingly fragile bodies, but that same fragility sometimes made them immune to things designed for others. Liara's breathing became more regular. Her eyelids twitched and she tried to push herself up. Marcus supported her carefully. "Easy, Ambassador, you're safe, just stay calm." The court erupted again as Liara attempted to rise. Aliens muttered, flapped, and clicked in confusion. "It is a trick," some cried. Others looked suspiciously at one another. Marcus ignored them. His focus was on her survival and uncovering the truth. He guided Liara to a quieter corner behind the dais. "Tell me exactly what you felt before you fell," he asked. "My vision blurred," she murmured. "Then everything went heavy. I couldn't stand." Marcus frowned. It confirmed his suspicion. This was not a natural illness. No virus or disease acted so instantly. This was deliberate and cleverly disguised. The alien medics finally intervened, but Marcus watched every movement. They checked her vitals again, muttering in their complex language. Marcus realized that their training made them hesitant. They relied heavily on technology and sensory readings, both of which had failed here. Humans relied on observation, intuition, and improvisation. That difference could make all the difference. He straightened and scanned the room. Among the dignitaries, some seemed worried, others shocked, and a few suspicious. He noted who was paying too much attention and who looked too calm. That calmness often meant guilt. "Keep your eyes open," he whispered to Liara. "Nothing here is random." The ambassador nodded weakly, placing a hand on his arm. Marcus could feel her gratitude and trust. That trust was rare in these courts. Aliens often distrusted even their allies. Humans, however, had a way of earning respect simply by thinking, reacting, and acting. The chief magistrate of the court called for order. "This is a serious event," he boomed, his voice echoing off the crystalline walls. "We must determine the cause immediately. Alien security forces will investigate and humans shall assist where appropriate." Marcus swallowed. That was a political maneuver, acknowledging human involvement without undermining alien authority. Fine. He would play along, but carefully. He had already begun forming a plan in his mind. First observe, then question. Finally, uncover the truth. He moved among the dignitaries, noting small details others missed. A slight smudge on a cup, a faint draft near the dais, and an odd angle in the placement of ceremonial artifacts. Nothing seemed unusual at first glance, but Marcus had learned long ago that small details told big stories. Hours passed in tense anticipation. Aliens argued and speculated, each accusing the other of foul play. Marcus stayed silent, watching, listening, noting reactions. Finally, Liara whispered to him, "Marcus, you always see what others cannot. Will we know the truth before the court falls into chaos?" Marcus gave a small smile. "We will, Ambassador. We will." The collapse that had shocked the court was just the beginning. Marcus knew that behind the dazzling lights and alien grandeur there was danger lurking. Someone wanted to disrupt the court. Someone had planned this carefully. And Marcus, relying on human ingenuity, perception, and courage, would uncover it. As the grand hall's light shimmered on the crystalline pillars, Marcus stood tall. Around him, alien eyes watched with curiosity, suspicion, and admiration, some without realizing it. For the first time, the humans in the room were not just guests or guards. They were observers, problem solvers, and potential saviors in a universe that had not yet learned to fully appreciate them. And Marcus, the human guard, felt the weight of that responsibility. One collapse had shaken the court. but it would. Take more than political games or alien deceit to shake a human's resolve. He glanced at Liara, who was recovering slowly, and then back at the crowd of dignitaries. The first step had been taken. The mystery had begun. And somewhere in that dazzling court a plan was unfolding, one that Marcus would need all his skills to stop. Humans might have been small in numbers, fragile in appearance, and underestimated in the grand cosmic scheme. But Marcus knew one thing. When the universe needed clarity, courage, and cleverness, humans could shine brighter than any alien power. The court had witnessed a sudden collapse, but soon it would witness a human mind unravel a mystery no alien could solve alone. The grand hall had quieted, but the tension lingered like an invisible fog. Aliens whispered in every corner, some speculating wildly, others clearly plotting. Marcus Ryland stood near Ambassador Liara, who was now sitting in a small, secluded alcove behind the dais. Her breathing was steadier, though still uneven. She leaned slightly on Marcus, trusting him completely, a rare thing in a court where everyone guarded their words, movements, and even thoughts. Marcus scanned the room. Alien guards had resumed their posts, but the court was still a storm of uncertainty. Marcus knew one thing for certain. This collapse was no accident. Someone had planned it. And if the culprit remained hidden, the fragile alliances in the court could crumble. He bent closer to Liara. "We need to act carefully. I want you to rest, but stay alert to anything unusual. Don't speak unless you notice something odd." Liara nodded, her eyes still wary. "Marcus, I trust you, but everyone will watch you too." Marcus gave a faint smile. That was fine. Humans were often underestimated. Aliens, for all their power and advanced senses, often failed to notice what a human could. Subtle details, small inconsistencies, they could reveal everything. And Marcus had been trained to see them. He rose and moved toward the crowd. His eyes flicked from alien to alien. Some were too calm, watching with unnerving patience. Others were panicked, muttering to themselves or whispering rapidly to their allies. One thing stood out immediately: body language. Humans might be small, but they could read expressions, gestures, and timing better than most aliens, whose instincts often focused on energy or pheromones. Marcus's first stop was the ceremonial table where Liara had been speaking. He crouched and inspected the podium carefully. His eyes noted tiny scratches along the edge, small enough that no alien guard had seen them. There was also a faint residue, almost invisible on the podium's surface. It glinted slightly under the hall's light. Marcus bent closer, inhaling subtly, metallic with a hint of chemical. Noticing this, he straightened, glancing around. No one had touched the podium since the collapse. That meant whatever caused it had been delivered before, or during Liara's speech, and deliberately. He moved next to the cup Liara had held. The human ambassador had used it to sip water before beginning her speech. Marcus's instincts prickled. The cup seemed ordinary, yet he caught the faintest shimmer along its rim. It was subtle, too subtle for most species to notice. But Marcus had learned that small things often mattered most. Alien medics approached, sensing his interest. "Human," one said, its voice tinged with curiosity and suspicion. "What do you see?" Marcus didn't answer directly. He focused on the cup, lifting it carefully with gloves to avoid contamination. Under the light, he could see a microscopic pattern on the rim, a chemical etching designed to dissolve in a specific type of saliva. It was nearly invisible. Only someone with Marcus's keen perception would catch it. "A substance," he muttered to himself. "It's engineered, tailored for certain species, but not humans." The alien medics blinked. Humans, they knew, were fragile, but in this case that fragility was an advantage. Whatever had been designed to knock out Liara and potentially other species would not affect a human. Marcus pocketed the cup in a secure evidence pouch. If he could trace its origin, he might find the culprit. But first, he needed more clues. He turned to the hall itself. Marcus noticed a strange pattern in the air currents. Virelia's grand halls were climate-controlled, yet here, the air seemed to move slightly differently near the dais. Subtle, almost imperceptible, but Marcus had trained his senses to catch it. A draft? A hidden vent? He made a mental note to investigate. Moving through the crowd, he began discreetly questioning witnesses. One alien, a small quadruped with luminous skin, had seen Liara collapse but couldn't explain why. Another, a bird-like diplomat, claimed to have smelled nothing unusual. Marcus noted the discrepancies carefully. Some species had acute senses but didn't perceive what he had detected. That meant the cause was subtle, designed to evade detection. He returned briefly to Liara, kneeling beside her. "I have an idea," he whispered. "Someone planned this. They used a method targeted at non-humans. We need to find it before they strike again." Liara's eyes widened. "You think it's sabotage?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, and whoever did this isn't just reckless, they're clever. We'll need patience, observation, and timing to catch them." Hours passed. The court tried to resume proceedings, but tension remained thick. Marcus moved quietly, inspecting corners, vents, and conduits. His eyes caught a faint glimmer near a decorative column. Kneeling, he noticed a tiny device hidden in the base, almost like part of the structure. He touched it lightly, careful not to trigger anything. It was smooth, metallic, with fine grooves etched along its surface. Marcus recognized the craftsmanship. It was not Virelian. Someone had brought this device specifically for this court, likely from another world. He slipped it into his glove. If he could analyze it later, it might reveal the chemical or method used to incapacitate Liara. Marcus's human ingenuity was one of his greatest tools. He could improvise and think logically where others relied solely on instinct or technology. Meanwhile, whispers spread through the court. Alien dignitaries noticed Marcus's unusual calm and subtle actions. They began observing him, curious and uneasy. Humans were unpredictable. Aliens respected strength, power, and advanced senses, but humans had a reputation for solving problems through thought, observation, and courage. Marcus caught sight of one alien, a tall, thin being with silvery skin, watching him with unusual intensity. Marcus noted its presence mentally. Calm beings often hid dangerous intent. He would keep an eye on it. Returning to Liara, Marcus shared his findings. "There's a device hidden in the hall," he explained. "It's engineered to release a substance targeting certain species. I think it's what caused your collapse." Liara looked at him, her voice weak but steady. "How do you know?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Because humans notice what others ignore. The scratches on the podium, the residue, the air currents, all small details, but they tell a story. Someone intended to manipulate this court without leaving obvious traces, and only a human might notice." Her eyes reflected admiration. "I always knew humans were clever, but this is extraordinary." Marcus shrugged. "We survive by noticing what others don't. That's all." He spent the next hours quietly gathering information. He observed which dignitaries moved closer to the podium, which whispered in corners, and which seemed unusually calm. Pattern recognition was a human strength. Aliens relied on senses that Marcus could not fully comprehend, but humans excelled in reading intent through behavior, timing, and subtle cues. By the late afternoon, Marcus had a rough map of the hall's layout and the possible sources of sabotage. The tiny device he had found, combined with the strange air currents and chemical traces, suggested a plan both clever and dangerous. He also noticed another clue: the pattern of the crowd's reactions. Some species had instinctively recoiled, some hesitated, and a few watched too calmly. Calmness in moments of danger often indicated complicity. Marcus marked these individuals mentally. Liara rested nearby, her trust in Marcus complete. "Do you think the culprit is still here?" she asked quietly. Marcus glanced at the assembled dignitaries. "I don't know, but if they are, they'll make a mistake. All it takes is one slip, one overlooked detail, and we'll find them." Hours turned into evening. The hall's lights dimmed slightly. reflecting off the crystalline pillars in a cascade of colors. Aliens continued their discussions, trying to resume diplomacy, but Marcus remained alert. Every movement, every glance, every whisper mattered. Finally, Marcus returned to the podium. He examined it again, comparing it to the evidence he had gathered. The scratches, the residue, and the placement of the device told a story of careful planning. Whoever engineered this knew the court's schedule, the layout, and even the species' vulnerabilities. Marcus knelt quietly, thinking. "This isn't just sabotage," he muttered. "It's a message. Someone wants to destabilize the court, create distrust, and perhaps even ignite a war. And they think we won't notice. But humans do notice." By the end of the day, Marcus had pieced together enough clues to form a plan. He would need to act carefully, use human ingenuity, and anticipate moves no alien could predict. He would analyze the device, trace its origin, and watch the suspicious dignitaries closely. As he stood and looked around the hall, Marcus felt a quiet confidence. Aliens might have advanced technology, heightened senses, and even psychic abilities. But humans had patience, logic, courage, and creativity, and Marcus intended to prove that no subtle plan, no matter how clever, could outmatch human observation. The collapse that had shocked the court was only the beginning. The threads of intrigue were tangled, the motives hidden, and the danger real. But Marcus Rylan, human guard and problem solver, was already on the trail. The grand hall of Virelia had calmed, but the air remained thick with tension. The collapse of Ambassador Liara was still fresh in the minds of the dignitaries, who moved through the corridors with careful, cautious steps. Rumors whispered like wind through the crystal pillars. Some aliens suspected rival houses, others speculated about espionage. And somewhere in that swirl of suspicion, Marcus Rylan moved quietly, his human senses alert to every detail, every movement, and every hidden danger. Marcus had spent hours examining the hall, the podium, and the tiny device he had found. It was unlike anything he had encountered before. Small, sleek, metallic, almost innocuous, but undeniably deadly. He turned it over in his hands again, careful not to trigger anything. "This is sophisticated," he murmured, "and designed specifically to target certain species. Humans are immune, of course, lucky for me." He remembered the faint metallic scent and chemical shimmer on Liara's cup. The combination of substances, devices, and timing indicated meticulous planning. Whoever had engineered this had studied the court's layout, the habits of its dignitaries, and the biology of its various species. Marcus knelt near the decorative column where he had first spotted the device. He scanned the floor for anything unusual. Tiny scratches, nearly invisible, traced a path from the column to the podium. It was a subtle clue, overlooked by every alien guard. He smiled faintly. Humans excelled at noticing patterns others ignored. He picked up the device carefully and examined its grooves and etchings. They were almost artistic in their precision, yet clearly functional. Marcus tapped the surface lightly with a gloved finger. Inside, he sensed a mechanism designed to release a substance gradually, perhaps timed to coincide with Liara's speech. "Clever," he muttered. "Very clever." His thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of a silver-skinned alien, tall and slender, its eyes reflecting curiosity and suspicion. It introduced itself as Vareth, an official from one of the participating houses. "You investigate quietly, human," Vareth said, its voice calm but sharp. "Why? Do you distrust your own species?" Marcus studied Vareth carefully. Calm aliens were often the most dangerous. They hid intent behind composure. "I trust no one blindly," Marcus replied. "Not even humans." Vareth's eyes flicked to the device in Marcus's hand. "Ah, I see. You have discovered something?" Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he placed the device into a containment field he had discreetly activated, a human trick learned from old training modules. Vareth's gaze lingered, unreadable, before it nodded and moved away. Marcus made a mental note. Vareth was important and calm. That combination often meant either wisdom or cunning, and sometimes both. Marcus returned to Liara, who had been resting quietly. "Ambassador," he said softly, "I think I know how this was done. Someone used a hidden device to release a chemical, targeting alien physiology. Humans are immune. That's why you are fine, but the others were incapacitated." Liara's eyes widened. "You mean they could have killed others?" "Not necessarily," Marcus said. "But they wanted to create chaos, confusion, or mistrust. Someone planned this very carefully, and we need to find out who before they strike again." She nodded slowly. "And you think you can?" Marcus smiled faintly. "We will, step by step. Every detail matters." The human guard returned to the hall, moving like a shadow. He inspected every corner, every ventilation shaft, and every conduit. His attention was drawn to a small grate near the floor. It was subtle, almost blending, into the crystalline flooring. He knelt and examined it closely. A faint residue similar to what he had found on Liara's cup clung to the edges of the grate. A small, nearly invisible line of particles traced from the vent to the podium. Marcus realized that the device was not working alone. It had been part of a larger system, carefully hidden and timed. He crouched, examining the airflow in the hall. Alien senses might detect temperature or movement, but humans could calculate patterns using observation and logic. Marcus followed the invisible currents with his mind, noting the path from the vent to the podium. Whoever had designed this had accounted for the flow of air, ensuring the substance would reach Liara at the exact right moment. Marcus's jaw tightened. This was no ordinary sabotage. It required knowledge of alien biology, court schedules, and engineering. Someone had planned it for weeks, if not months. He returned to Liara. "Ambassador, the device was not enough. Someone used the hall itself. To deliver the substance, they relied on air currents and timing. They knew when and where to act." Liara frowned. "And they're still here?" "Most likely," Marcus said. "And probably watching us, waiting for the next opportunity. That means we must be careful, quiet, and clever." He thought about the dignitaries who had seemed calm, the ones who had whispered in corners, the ones who had avoided drawing attention. One stood out, a silver-skinned alien with eyes too calculating, movements too precise. Marcus had already noted it, Vareth. He hadn't acted suspiciously yet, but calmness in times of crisis often hid intent. Marcus needed more evidence. He returned to the device he had found. Using a small analysis tool hidden in his uniform, he examined the chemical composition. It was a sedative, highly specialized, designed to affect alien neurochemistry. Humans would not respond, explaining why he and Liara remained unaffected. He smiled faintly. Human immunity, combined with observation skills, gave them the upper hand. Others had relied on technology, senses, or instinct. Humans relied on reasoning, careful observation, and intuition. And in a universe full of subtle threats, that was a powerful advantage. Marcus decided to act methodically. He would monitor suspicious individuals, trace the device's origin, and predict the next move. The collapse had been only the beginning, and the true plan remained hidden. But humans could uncover patterns where aliens might see only chaos. He walked through the hall again, paying attention to small gestures, facial expressions, and subtle signals. Some dignitaries whispered too much, their eyes flicking nervously. Others maintained perfect composure, but their presence lingered in strategic spots. Humans could notice these patterns, analyze them, and anticipate outcomes. As evening approached, Marcus returned to Liara. "Ambassador, we need to be ready. Whoever planned this may act again, perhaps during the council session or dinner. I need you to trust me completely and follow my instructions." Liara nodded. "I trust you, Marcus. I've never doubted it." Marcus felt a surge of determination. The collapse had shocked the court, but the real challenge was just beginning. The device, the vent, the careful planning, all pointed to a mind clever, patient, and dangerous. And Marcus knew that only by using human ingenuity, patience, and courage could he solve the mystery. He reviewed the hall one last time. The crystal. Pillars reflected the dimming light, casting long shadows. Alien dignitaries moved silently, some curious, some wary. Marcus noted every pattern, every small movement. Every detail mattered. Finally, he returned to the small alcove where Liara rested. "Ambassador, we have enough to act," he said softly. "I've traced the mechanism, analyzed the device, and noted the suspicious individuals. The next step is to uncover the culprit before they strike again." Liara's eyes shone with admiration. "You humans, you always see what others miss." Marcus smiled faintly. "We survive by noticing what others ignore. It's not magic, it's observation, logic, and courage. And sometimes it's the difference between chaos and order." That night, Marcus remained vigilant. While the hall seemed calm, he knew the danger had not passed. The saboteur, whoever they were, had planned meticulously, but humans had an advantage others often underestimated. As the lights dimmed, Marcus reviewed his observations. The chemical residue on the cup and podium indicated a sedative designed for alien biology. The device was hidden in plain sight, connected to the hall's airflow system. Suspicious individuals were calm, precise, and positioned strategically. Human immunity and keen observation offered a unique edge. Marcus's mind worked like a machine, piecing together the puzzle. The collapse had been engineered to cause confusion, distrust, and potential conflict. If left unchecked, it could escalate into political disaster, or worse. He glanced at Liara, who had fallen asleep, trusting him completely. Marcus vowed silently. He would uncover the truth. Humans might be small, fragile, and underestimated, but their ingenuity, observation, and courage could solve problems that no alien technology or sense could. The hidden sabotage was clever, dangerous, and subtle. But it had a flaw. Someone had underestimated the human mind, and Marcus Ryland, the human guard, would find it. The next day would bring revelations, confrontations, and the unraveling of a plot that had shocked the court. But Marcus was ready. The human advantage, perception, logic, courage would shine where alien power alone could not. The next day dawned bright over Virelia, the crystalline pillars in the grand hall catching the sunlight and scattering it into a kaleidoscope of colors. Despite the beauty, tension lingered like a heavy fog. Aliens moved through the hall with cautious steps, whispering to their allies, watching others carefully. The collapse of Ambassador Liara had shaken everyone, and the whispers of sabotage spread like wildfire. Marcus Ryland moved silently among them, his human instincts sharp and alert. The hall was crowded, filled with dignitaries eager to continue the council session, but he knew better. Some of them were watching, waiting for the next opportunity. He scanned the faces, the gestures, the tiny shifts in posture. Calm beings, he had learned, were often the most dangerous. He paused near the dais, examining the podium again. Nothing had changed, but his mind worked like a machine, piecing together every observation from the previous day. He thought about the device he had found, the hidden nanotech, the chemical residue, the way air currents had carried the sedative to Liara. Whoever had planned this knew the court inside and out. "Human guard," a voice said, soft but firm. Marcus turned. It was Liara, standing now fully recovered and looking determined. "Are you ready?" Marcus nodded. "We have enough evidence. We can unmask the culprit, but we need patience and precision." Liara's eyes sparkled. "I trust you. Let's do it." Marcus led her to a secluded corner of the hall. "First, we need to observe the reactions of the dignitaries. Watch who seems calm, who watches too carefully, and who whispers behind their hands. Patterns are everything." For the next hour, Marcus and Liara watched quietly. Aliens moved about, taking their seats, exchanging pleasantries, and pretending normalcy. But Marcus noticed the subtle details: the flick of a wing, the narrowing of an eye, the way a hand rested just above a concealed device. his gaze fixed on one figure, Vareth, the silver-skinned alien he had noticed before. Calm, composed, precise, always present at strategic points in the hall. His eyes flicked to Marcus occasionally, as if aware of the human's scrutiny. Marcus smiled faintly. Calmness, repetition, and strategic positioning. This was the behavior of someone hiding something, Marcus whispered to Liara. Watch him. Everything he does is deliberate. He's hiding his intent behind composure. Liara nodded. What now? Marcus crouched slightly, inspecting the air currents with his trained perception. He traced the subtle flow from vents near Vareth's usual positions. It matched the path of the chemical device from the previous day. He's involved, Marcus said quietly. And he knows how to manipulate the environment to his advantage. Liara's eyes widened. We need proof. Marcus smiled faintly. We'll get it. Patience is key. Humans can see what others cannot. As the council session began, Marcus positioned himself where he could observe the proceedings without drawing attention. The dignitaries spoke in measured tones, discussing trade, alliances, and minor disputes. But Marcus's focus remained on Vareth. Then came the moment. Vareth subtly adjusted a panel on the floor near his seat. The movement was small, barely noticeable, but Marcus had trained to detect such details. He activated a small scanning device concealed in his wrist strap. It detected traces of chemical residue, identical to what had incapacitated Liara. Marcus's eyes narrowed. He had the evidence. The saboteur had attempted a second move, likely targeting another diplomat during the council session. But human observation had caught it in time. He whispered to Liara, He's trying again. The device is set. The flow is ready. We need to act. Liara nodded. What do we do? Marcus scanned the hall. The council would notice if they disrupted the proceedings. But he also knew that hesitation could allow disaster. He needed a strategy that combined subtlety, precision, and decisiveness. He moved carefully toward Vareth, keeping his actions hidden from other dignitaries. Using his understanding of alien tech, he deactivated the panel with a precise motion, neutralizing the device without drawing attention. Vareth's eyes flicked briefly to him, a hint of surprise flashing across his calm face, but Marcus continued, acting naturally, blending with the crowd. Once the immediate danger was neutralized, Marcus gathered Liara in a corner. He's caught. We have proof of his attempt. Now we need to confront him in a way that leaves no room for denial. Liara nodded, her confidence in Marcus unwavering. I'll stand with you. Marcus led her to the dais, where the council had reconvened. He held up the deactivated device. The hall went silent. All eyes turned to the human. Guard? This device, Marcus began, his voice calm but firm, was intended to incapacitate Ambassador Liara and potentially other dignitaries. It was engineered to target alien physiology, leaving humans unaffected. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Some aliens flapped wings in alarm, others muttered in disbelief. Marcus continued. It was hidden in the hall, connected to the air, circulation system, and timed for maximum effect. Someone planned this meticulously. Someone tried to use it again today. He paused, letting the tension build. Then he turned to Vareth, standing perfectly composed despite the growing scrutiny. Vareth, you have been observed manipulating a panel near your seat, placing the device in the path of the council. Evidence links you directly to both attempts. Vareth's calm expression faltered slightly, a micro-expression Marcus had learned to detect. The room tensed. Alien guards shifted uncomfortably, realizing that Marcus had uncovered the truth with nothing more than observation, logic, and evidence. Vareth spoke, voice smooth but defensive. Human. You make accusations without proof. This is preposterous. Marcus held up the deactivated device. The device itself is proof. The chemical residue, the timing, your movements, all corroborate your involvement. Denial is futile. The council erupted in a mixture of outrage, fear, and astonishment. Many had never seen a human confront an alien so directly and so effectively, but Marcus remained calm. His presence alone conveyed authority, reason, and competence. Liara stepped forward. "I can confirm," she said, "that my collapse was caused by this device. Thanks to Captain Rylan, further harm was prevented. His observation and quick thinking saved lives today." A murmur of respect swept through the hall. Even those who had doubted humans now regarded them differently. Humans might be small in number and appearance, but their ingenuity, courage, and logic could surpass the greatest alien abilities. Vareth attempted to retreat, but Marcus anticipated the move. He stepped forward, positioning himself strategically. "There is no escape," he said firmly. "You will answer for your actions in front of the council." The alien guards moved in, guided by Marcus's clear commands. Vareth's attempts at manipulation were thwarted, the device secured, and the evidence presented. Marcus turned to the council. "Let this be a reminder. No deception, no sabotage, and no hidden schemes can succeed when humans observe, analyze, and act. Our skills may not be the most flashy, but they are effective." The council murmured, nodding in agreement. Alien dignitaries who had doubted human competence now regarded Marcus with respect, even admiration. Humans had solved a mystery that had eluded the most advanced alien senses and technologies. Liara approached Marcus, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You have proven what I always knew," she said. "Humans are not to be underestimated." Marcus smiled faintly. "We survive by noticing what others overlook, that's all. Logic, observation, and courage. That's what keeps us alive and effective." The council convened formally to address Vareth's actions. Punishments were discussed, alliances reaffirmed, and tensions eased. Marcus had not only prevented further harm, but had also ensured that the court recognized human competence. As the hall emptied and dignitaries returned to their chambers, Marcus and Liara walked through the corridors. The sun reflected off the crystalline walls, casting a warm glow. "You were incredible," Liara said softly. "You saw what no one else could, acted when others hesitated, and solved the mystery with clarity." Marcus shook his head. "I just paid attention. Observation, patience, and logic, that's all humans need. And courage, of course. Without courage, nothing works." Liara smiled. "You have all three. And today you have earned the respect of every house in this court." Marcus felt a quiet satisfaction. The danger was over, at least for now. The saboteur had been unmasked, the device neutralized, and the council stabilized. Yet he knew the universe was full of challenges, deception, and hidden threats. Humans might be underestimated, but in moments like these their unique strength shone brightest. As they reached the exit, Marcus looked back at the grand hall. The collapse that had shocked everyone was now a lesson in human ingenuity and courage. In a galaxy filled with powerful aliens and advanced technologies, humans could solve problems, uncover deception, and protect life with nothing more than sharp observation, clever thinking, and unwavering bravery. The Grand Hall of Virelia had never looked more magnificent, yet its beauty no longer distracted from the undercurrent of relief. The council session that had begun with chaos now concluded with clarity, justice, and an unspoken admiration for the human who had saved the day. Marcus Rylan, the human guard, stood near Ambassador Liara, observing the dignitaries as they quietly returned to their chambers. He felt no pride, only a sense of quiet responsibility. Humans were often underestimated, small in number, fragile in appearance, and seemingly ordinary. But today, he had shown that observation, logic, and courage could outshine even the most advanced alien technology and senses. Liara, now fully recovered, glanced at Marcus with gratitude. "You did more than save me," she said softly. "You preserved the council, prevented war, and reminded everyone here what humans are capable of." Marcus shook his head. "I just noticed what others missed and acted. That's all." But Liara smiled knowingly. Humans never see themselves as extraordinary. Others do. The council reconvened to formally address the incident. "Vareth, The silver-skinned saboteur was brought before them. The evidence Marcus had collected, the device, the chemical residues, and the recorded observations, left no room for denial. Even Vareth, usually calm and composed, could not maintain his poise under the scrutiny of the entire council. Tai Chiu, High Magistrate spoke, his voice carrying authority that resonated through the hall. Vareth's actions threatened the peace and safety of this council. Thanks to the vigilance of a human guard, the plot was uncovered before any further harm could occur. This council recognizes the bravery, ingenuity, and wisdom of Captain Marcus Rylan. Whispers spread among the dignitaries. Many had doubted the human race before, seeing humans as simple, fragile beings. Now they regarded Marcus with a new respect. Some inclined their heads, others extended gestures of acknowledgement. Humans were small in size, but their minds, and their courage, could rival the greatest powers in the galaxy. Vareth attempted to speak, to offer excuses, but the council's decision was unanimous. He would face trial and sanctions in accordance with interstellar law. His network of alliances would be dismantled, his influence curtailed. The court's order was clear. Deceit and sabotage had no place here. Marcus remained calm as the proceedings unfolded. He observed the reactions of the dignitaries, noting who understood the significance of human intervention. Some were quietly impressed, realizing that humans had solved a problem that even the most advanced alien technologies had failed to detect. After the council adjourned, Liara led Marcus to a private chamber where they could speak freely. She looked around, ensuring they were alone, then turned to him. Marcus, the council will remember this day. They will speak of your actions for years to come. You have changed their perception of humanity. Marcus smiled faintly. I only did what was necessary. Observing, thinking, acting. That's what humans do best. We survive because we notice what others overlook. Liara's expression softened. And sometimes, we protect what others cannot. You saved not only me, but the peace of this court. That is remarkable. Marcus nodded, but his mind was already scanning the hall outside. Even now, he thought of patterns, behaviors, and potential threats. Humans were small, but the universe was vast and full of danger. Observation and vigilance were never-ending tasks. The next hours passed with formalities and quiet discussions. Dignitaries approached Marcus to offer personal thanks, each in their own cultural way. Some bowed, some extended appendages, others emitted harmonic tones. Marcus accepted them politely, aware that these gestures were not just courtesy, they were recognition of the human ability to act decisively and effectively. Liara joined him again. They will remember today, Marcus. Humans have earned their respect. You've shown them that logic, courage, and observation can rival any alien, skill or technology. Marcus thought about it for a moment. It's not about being better, it's about being different. Humans see patterns, notice details, and act when others hesitate. That's all it takes to make a difference. Liara smiled. Different is powerful. And you proved it today. As evening fell, the hall emptied, leaving Marcus and Liara alone amid the shimmering crystal pillars. The city of Virelia outside sparkled like a jewel, its streets alive with lights and activity. Yet inside the court, a profound sense of calm settled. Order had been restored, the threat neutralized, and justice served. Marcus surveyed the hall one last time. The podium, the device, and the subtle scratches all told a story of careful planning, of attempted sabotage, and of human intervention. He felt a quiet satisfaction. Humans might not have wings, tentacles, or psychic abilities, but their minds and courage allowed them to navigate challenges others could not even perceive. Liara joined him, her expression reflective. Marcus, humans are underestimated in every corner of the galaxy, but perhaps today that begins to change. Marcus nodded. One council, one incident, one observation at a time. We can show the universe that humans are capable, reliable, and courageous. She placed a hand on his shoulder. And you, Marcus, will be remembered as the one who proved it. the one who solved the impossible and protected peace. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Recognition was not his goal, but he accepted it quietly. The important thing was that the council, the dignitaries, and even the universe had seen a human mind in action. In the days that followed, reports of the incident spread across the galaxy. Humans were discussed not as fragile beings, but as sharp, courageous problem solvers. Ambassador Liara ensured that the council formally acknowledged Marcus's actions, highlighting the unique human qualities that had prevented disaster. Marcus returned to his duties, remaining vigilant. He knew the universe was full of hidden dangers, and humans would always need to rely on their observation, logic, and courage. Yet he also knew that today, humans had earned respect, not through size, strength, or alien power, but through the simple brilliance of thought, patience, and decisive action. As he stood outside the court, watching the alien dignitaries depart, Marcus felt a quiet pride. The collapse that had shocked the court, the hidden device, and the dangerous plot had all been uncovered and neutralized, not by alien senses or technology alone, but by a human mind. The galaxy might never fully understand humans, but today, they had seen what humans were capable of. One human, standing calmly amid chaos, could solve mysteries that others could not. One human, observing, reasoning, and acting with courage, could protect life and maintain peace. Marcus glanced toward the horizon, where the twin suns of Virelia were setting. The light shimmered across the crystalline city, casting long, golden reflections. The court had witnessed a human triumph, and the galaxy had taken notice. He felt a quiet certainty. Humans would continue to be underestimated, but that was fine. They had a way of surprising the universe when it mattered most. Logic, observation, courage. These were their tools, and they were enough to face challenges that no alien technology or power could anticipate. Liara joined him, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "Thank you, Marcus," she said simply. "For everything," Marcus nodded. "It's what humans do. We notice, we act, and we protect, that's all." She smiled. "And today, the galaxy has learned that humans can solve the impossible." Marcus allowed himself a small, rare smile. He had done his duty, saved lives, and shown the strength of human ingenuity. The court had respect for humans now, and perhaps the galaxy had begun to understand. The collapse that had shocked the court was no longer a symbol of fear or chaos. It was a symbol of what humans could achieve when observation, courage, and intellect combined.